and welcome to the I-24 News Defense Magazine. I'm Yael Wistner-Levy, filling in for Alon Ben David with your weekly review of security, intelligence, and strategic affairs. In this edition, we discuss possible scenarios that a nuclear Iran can lead to, examine how the Islamic State and social networks are recruiting young Europeans, and explore a new possible terror threat. Let's begin. Thousands of young men and women from around the world have fled to Syria and Iraq to become a part of the Islamic State, and social media has played a major role in the recruitment. Lauren Izo reports.
Earlier this month, 3 British teenage girls went missing, and police later said they flew to Istanbul. Authorities now believe the girls have crossed into Syria to join the Islamic State. The girls apparently were lured to the terrorist group via social media, where they were promised an adventurous utopian life and jihadi husbands by women who have already joined the terrorist group. The girls, whose ages ranged from 15 to 16, reportedly did not inform their families that they plan to leave the country. Their families and friends have since made emotional pleas for them to return home.
You're our baby, and we just want you home. We want you safe. Just contact anybody, let them know that you need help, and you've got all the help in the world. You're not in any trouble here. We all love you. If anybody's convinced you of anything, then they're wrong. We love you more than anybody that could ever love you.
Prime Minister David Cameron says that tightening British security is crucial following this event.
There are always lessons to learn on this occasion. I suspect the lessons will be not just that we can tighten arrangements on aeroplanes and at our borders, but also we all have a responsibility. Schools, parents, families, communities, universities, colleges, all have a responsibility to fight this poisonous radicalization of young people's minds.
According to the CIA, more than 2,000 Westerners have fled to Syria or Iraq in a bid to join IS. 600 Britons, 700 from France, 200 from Canada and the US. As well as their attractive social media campaign, the terrorist body has released propaganda videos aimed at recruiting English speakers.
We will not stop fighting. We will not put down our weapons until we reach your lands, until we take the head of every tyrant, and until the black flag is flying high in every single land, until we put the black flag on top of Buckingham Palace, until we put the black flag on top of the White House. We will not stop, and we will keep on fighting, and we will fight you, and we will defeat you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.
Radicalization in Western society is growing at an alarming rate, and the Islamic State has become the ultimate destination for young extremists.
We're joined now in studio by Orit Perlov, a social media analyst who follows the discourse on Arab-speaking social media. Orit, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
So it's obvious, of course, that since the rise of social media, there's also been a very big impact on terror. Where do you see it most?
Where do I see the impact? I guess since today, 1/3 of the Arab population are actively using those tools. I guess it's the main tool that politicians, society, and terror organization are using for several purposes. Mm-hmm. If they want to recruit people, if they want to do crowdsourcing of information, if they want to raise funds and money. It's all for all those purposes. The best tool to use are social media, and they master the tools. They learn how to use it. I guess it's the only informative platform today where you don't have borders, where it works in very kind of mutation kind of way, meaning you cut one hand or immediately another 5 will rise. So it's very easy for them to work in this platform.
It spreads and it becomes viral. But is the Islamic State particularly strong on social media, or is it just the media, as you said, it's the cutting of the hands and so forth that we just hear about more? Are there other groups on social media?
First of all, every group that we see outside the social media, we will find them on social media, meaning the young generation, politician, artist, whoever you want, you can find outside, we will find on social media. But for terror groups, since they don't restrict themselves with rules, which makes it a little bit difficult to players who are state players or semi-state players, for them it's easier because they don't restrict themselves. It's in some proportion, it's anonymity. It keeps your anonymity, and it's easier for them to do whatever they need in meaning of recruitment, in mobilizing the masses. If you need to call for reservees, abroad. If you want to act, if you look for people to give their bias, it's the best tool that you can use to spread your ideas. And since we know that the war on terror will never end with bullets because it's concepts, it's very, very difficult to counter their policy on social media. Very, very difficult.
And speaking about recruitment, is it true that more and more Europeans, we speak a lot about the recruitment, yes, we know they're coming mostly from Arab countries, but we're also seeing rising numbers from Europe. Why are these young people so attracted to the Islamic State or any other terror group through the social media?
So first of all, we need to understand who are the target audience of ISIS to answer this question. First of all, anyone who has, every individualist who has a jihadist orientation is a target. So it doesn't matter if you live in Syria or Tunisia, or you live in Asia or Europe. So this is first of all. Second of all, it's any individuals, what they call, ISIS call it the gray zone. Anyone who was Islamist, with Islamist orientation, in the past maybe joined the Muslim Brotherhood, failed to change the system from within, whatever they saw. Had to change the system, through the mechanism of the state, and now they try to radicalize them. So this is another audience. And the third one is the lone wolves. A young generation who tried, sometimes immigrants, Muslims immigrants in Europe, who failed to mobilize and to succeed in their own societies. We know in the Middle East, 40% of educated population is unemployed today. And when you have a very high unemployed rate within the youth, the Arab youth, the Arab Muslim youth, right. It's a very, it's a fertile ground to ISIS activity.
Right, and it definitely, social media just accelerates that process, most definitely.
It's absolutely, and it's very easy. Once you give your bayah, which means you give your oath to the Khalif, you don't need to be in the exact under his geographical rules. The moment you gave your alliance, you just, whatever it means, that you see him as your ruler. He sees you as his
devotee.
Exactly. And the moment you live in the UK, tomorrow UK target ISIS, which is now UK your enemy. You can choose your target within your states and then act individually.
Orit Perlov, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
A study conducted in the International Institute for Counterterrorism at the IDC Herzliya shows that Hezbollah has branched out from recreational narcotics to manufacturing and selling fake medical drugs as an evolving new funding for terror. The research is in cooperation between the head of the institute, Dr. Boaz Ganol, and Dr. Miri Halpern-Wernli, a pharmaceutical expert. Together, they're both attempting to raise awareness and develop new protective measures for terror targeting pharmaceuticals. Here's a peek at a documentary they made to introduce the alarming subject.
The dangers of counterfeiting in the biopharmaceutical industry are vast and ever expanding. While counterfeiting is mostly driven by financial motives, the international structure of the pharma industry makes it particularly exposed to another growing global force, global terror.
The pharma industry is much less aware of the possibility that terrorist organizations may infiltrate our premises and our operations.
The threat is far from theoretical. In 2010, the Lebanese police uncovered a huge counterfeit pharmaceutical operation run by Hezbollah. It has earned the organization hundreds of millions of dollars and flooded the drug market by over 10 tons of hazardous pills.
Terrorist organizations might penetrate to the pharmaceutical industry in order to make profit, to motivate their activists by using amphetamines, or to inflict fear and anxiety among the public at large by distributing counterfeited medicines.
In 2010, Lebanese police discovered in the homes of the Moussaoui brothers, senior Hezbollah leaders, machines to mass-produce Captagon, also known as Fentanyl, an outdated drug for treatment of attention deficit disorder. The organization distributed millions of these counterfeited pills across the Middle East, after being granted a special Islamic permit to counterfeit the drug as long as it was not distributed to Shiites.
When terrorists engage in something like this, they're looking at utility. Utility means how many people could I kill or injure? What kind of economic disruption could I incur? How much could I cause that infrastructure to slow down or stop?
The industry is exposed to infiltration at multiple stages, beginning at the research stage when scientists are recruited.
Is it possible for somebody with sympathetic ties to a terrorist organization, could they get involved in a legitimate pharmaceutical company and just throw a monkey wrench into the mix? The answer to that one is anything is possible.
In the production stage, replacement of raw materials with poisonous components is a possibility.
A lot of pharmaceuticals in the United States come from foreign sources. They come from China, they come from India, and they come from other places in the world. You don't have as much control as if it was here in the United States.
In the distribution stage, theft, adulteration, and the delivery of illegal and unauthorized medications can become a source of funding as well as damage for terrorist organizations.
You know, whether it's legitimate or whether it's counterfeit or whether it's illegal, there's a ton of money to be made.
If the criminals had the motives, the political motives of terrorist organizations, the damage could be much, much greater.
The International Institute for Counterterrorism calls on both the pharma industry and governments to address this threat before it is realized.
A regional war game conducted by SimLab, the military strategy simulation laboratory at Tel Aviv University, simulated a possible scenario for the day after Iran and the West reach a nuclear agreement and Iran becomes a threshold state. The game brought together leading Israeli experts to act as officials required to respond to a developing situation in which Iran threatens to react to Islamic State attacks with unconventional weapons. We're joined now by Dr. Chaim Assa, the director of SimLab and the former national security advisor to the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Dr. Assa, can you give us a more detailed outline of the scenarios?
I can say that it started with attack of Daesh, ISIS, the Islamic State against Baghdad. Baghdad, as you know, is very important for the Shiite guys, for Iran, and this was the start of the whole scenario. And from that, everything was in a process of I can say Iran was very upset, or it was very problematic for the Iranian. They canceled the agreement with the United States.
Would you consider this a realistic turn of events?
The critical point is that the Iranian can cancel for many reasons. We use this reason as a, let's say, something maybe realistic, maybe not, but they can use it because they can assess that the United States will do nothing against Iran when Daesh is attacking, let's say, Baghdad and Karbala and Najaf on these towns. The main point is that if Iran would be a little bit afraid or a little bit cautious too much, or will find an opportunity to cancel it, they can make it.
Do you believe these scenarios can guide or advise the Israeli Prime Minister in his quest to stop the deal?
I think that we, Israel and the United States, all the West, we need the agreement. We need the deal, even if it is a bad deal, because we want to be sure that nothing happens. It means that we have control systems to be assured that the Iranian side is not doing bad things in this under the agreement. But if they do something bad, they breaking the agreement, and then we can do, or the United States can do many other things, like attacking, like sanctions, whatever. I think if we don't have this agreement, we have nothing.
So just to sum up, what would you say were the results of the simulation?
Let's say that there was no end. It's a process. It's a chaotic process, and there's no end. No one is winning and no one is losing. Everything is dynamic and chaotic, and everyone needs to understand what kind of coalitions they must do And the Israelis must understand what kind of coalitions they must create with Egypt, with USA, with Jordan, with Saudi Arabia, even other, against Iran and against ISIS. It's not trivial, it's very complicated, and it's endless. There is no end. The end was still chaotic.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching, and join us again next week for another Defense Magazine. Have a safe night from the Jaffa Port.